Hi, welcome to this unboxing video for the Orillic S10, which will hopefully add wireless streaming capabilities to my old-fashioned hi-fi. I've got a Denon amp which only has the old optical and phono inputs. Okay, on with the unboxing. So we've got a user's manual, a mains plug, a UK mains plug, got a 3.5mm connected to phono sockets, 3.5mm to 3.5mm, and a USB cable. That is the power adapter. And we've got a remote control. Feels fairly light, but solid enough. And then the main part of the unit, which is the streamer. It's got all the connectors on the back and a few lights on the front. I've now moved to my amplifier and I've taken the 3.5mm to phono cable and plugged the phono cables into the CD input on my amplifier, and I plugged the 3.5mm cable into the aux out of the S10. I'll then take the UK mains plug and plug the USB cable. I then take the other end of the USB cable and plug that into the 5V input. And go and plug this in, but I don't switch it on yet. On your phone, install the 4Stream app, which is available for Android on the Google Play Store or for Apple iOS on the Apple App Store. I've put a couple of AAA batteries into the remote control, and now I press and hold the power button and switch on at the mains, and the NET light flashes rapidly to show that the S10 is loading. I now go to my phone and tap the 4Stream app, which will automatically search for your S10, which needs to be using the 2.4 gig Wi-Fi and not 5 gig Wi-Fi. The app requires access to your location, so you need to allow this. The instruction book indicates that once setup is finished, you can disable location access for the 4Stream app. I haven't tried actually doing this yet. The NET indicator LED is blinking slowly, and the app found my S10, which is called the Sound System 670E in the app, so I hit setup. I checked that the Wi-Fi name was correct and then entered my Wi-Fi password. The app confirmed that the S10 was connected to the Wi-Fi with a very good signal strength. I was then given the opportunity to name the device using one of the many room names available in the app, or to leave it as the device name. The app then checked that the firmware was up to date. It wasn't, so the firmware was upgraded. I've speeded this up in the video considerably because it takes several minutes. Your S10 should now be ready to play some music. Click Browse at the bottom of the screen. The list of streaming services is extensive, and at the bottom of the screen you will also see the app's source selector switches. Line in is the 3.5mm socket labelled AUX in on the rear of the S10. The USB DAC is the USB socket on the rear of the S10, which allows you to plug in a USB memory stick with up to 1024 tracks. The remote control can also be used to switch between these different sources. I've got a lot of music stored on my phone, so when I scroll back to the top and select My Music, I give the app permission to access the media on my phone. After a delay, the app detects over 3,000 tracks which are stored on my phone. I've got a lot of music and I got a not responding warning, but I just waited for the app to process all these tracks, and eventually the app continued. At this point I should point out that my smartphone is several years old and is a basic smartphone. These problems could therefore be as a result of my low-powered smartphone rather than a problem with the 4Stream app. At the bottom of the screen, 4Stream shows the track that is playing. If you tap on this, you get a full screen showing the track that is playing with the album art at the top and the track name, band name and album below. I just leave my audio players on shuffle play. I don't have any playlists. I can alter the volume and jump to the next track. However, it does take several seconds for the album art to change to the new track, but as mentioned before, this could be a problem with my basic smartphone. The 4Stream app can access a good range of streaming services. Let's take a quick look at TuneIn and click on Music. Let's pick Virgin, which is listed first in the most popular stations section. You have the option to tag Virgin as a favourite. Let's play Virgin, and you can see that it now appears in the play bar at the bottom of the screen. You can obviously switch to another station just by clicking on the station icon. There is also the option to play music from a DLNA media server or a home music share, to use the terminology used by the 4Stream app. I work from home and am sat in front of my desktop computer for long periods, so I would actually prefer to stream music from my PC rather than from my mobile phone. This would also avoid the problems which the size of my music collection is causing for my basic smartphone. The Arylic instruction manual recommends the use of the Foobar 2000 app on a PC. The instruction manual and the Arylic website provides detailed instructions on how to set up Foobar to work with the S10. First of all, go to the website shown on the screen and download and install the Foobar 2000 app. The download and installation process is shown speeded up considerably. The Foobar app will require a bit of setup to get it working exactly the way you want it to work. However, for this video, I'm only going to show how to get it working with the Arylic S10. So for this video installation, I simply clicked on OK in the Quick Appearance setup window. You now need to download and install an additional component for Foobar which allows any UPnP devices on your home network, such as the S10, to be listed as output devices for Foobar. Click on Download to download the component onto your computer. To install this component, open the Preferences window in Foobar. It should open the Preferences window on the Component tab, but if it doesn't, click on Components on the left-hand side of the window. Then click on Install and select the component file that you have just downloaded. Then click on OK to close Preferences. Foobar will then warn you that it will need to restart in order to load the new component. Restart Foobar and open the Preferences window again to check that the UNP component has been installed correctly. The next stage is to select the S10 as your audio output device for Foobar. The instructions advise you to click on Library and then Configure. This opens the Preferences window on the Media Library pane. Maybe this was the correct Preferences pane in an old version, but in the version that I downloaded, you need to expand the Playback Preferences and then expand the Output Preferences to see the UPnP Media Renderer Output Preferences. Click on the UPnP Output Preferences and in the Found Devices list you should see the Sound System 670E, which is the app's name for the S10. This confirms that Foobar is now seeing the S10, so all you need to do now is to select it as the output device by clicking on Output, and then in the drop-down list of devices, select Sound System 670E. Click on Apply, then OK to close the window. Now select any music file on your computer, hit the play button, and Foobar should now be streaming to your S10, which will then send the audio to your amplifier. In other words, you should now be streaming audio to your old amplifier. I hope this video helps anybody like me who's got an old amp that they want to add audio streaming to from either a phone or from a computer.